will they adapt, if at all, to what they've been seeing put down? Will this just be a very similar opener when BLG were on red side with the Jax plus the Sejuani, or will they give us a little bit of different spice? It seems like they're gonna just match AD to AD, given this hover, and maybe just open out with Shun's jungle option as well. We'll see. I wonder if they want to take
Kindred is
Jiejie
available.
off. Yeah, so my question is, do they want to just leave the jungle pick until 3 to get a little more information? Do they want to snap up with Kindred now, or do they want to take Jiejie off of Wukong? I think those are the couple of options
Shun,
I'm thinking about.
You want it.
He's hovered it twice, man. Yeah, okay, so he's going to do it. So now, this is the big thing. Xayah, Kindred, thrive at standing their ground and moving backwards, right? And then re-engaging and moving forwards when it makes sense. How will EDG respond? Will they go in with dive, or will they try and be a little more nuanced? I think snapping up Gragas here would make a whole bunch of sense in terms of finding that middle ground. You can also look to, oh wow, they're going to just take Jax from Bin. Okay. We'll see. I think double wall attackers from the get-go. You know Jax is always going to have value. That's fine. You're still going to be moving forward likely and looking for flanks. The question is, Jiejie's Wukong, it has been really, really powerful and potent, so I don't feel like you want to take him off it. But this is something that's also been denied away the Thresh for basically any time the Aphelios has been there and there's been no support pick. So EDG really want to take that one and have that safety net available to them. Will On bring out the Blitzcrank? That's now
that is a big question.
That's now the big question, because I feel like he's done it when it makes sense, and a lot of the time it makes sense into the Thresh.
I do really like some of the spacing tools that EDG have already gotten for themselves, though, especially looking into that Lamb's Respite.
He's going to do it.
The flays, the death sentences, things like that. We do get the on Blitzcrank in here for BLG, and they're opting all into this game number 4. There's a lot of comfort coming through here.
Okay, comfort, one-to-one counter as well. I'm very, very, very interested to see how BLG decide to round off their draft. I think from the get-go, EDG, next ban, Galio, ban after that. Probably a side laner. They've banned away Fiora a lot. I don't think they want to give BLG the opportunity to have a global like Galio whilst also supplementing a strong 2v2. It just makes too much sense with the composition that BLG have. I'm really, really eyeing up for EDG what strong jungle matchups that they're actually going to try to find to somewhat neutralize this Kindred in the early stages. BLG now obviously removing away the Lee Sin. They'll probably remove away the Wukong unless they feel like that's not an issue, and they would rather remove away perhaps. Honestly, maybe the Gragas if Jiejie wants to take it in the jungle. I don't think it's a terrible route to go, again, just because of what it can do to a potential Lamb's Respite. But again, I think just removing away strong 2v2 options is totally fine here for BLG. I think FoFo is very likely to lean back on the Ahri in this kind of situation.
It has to be Galio right here.
Yeah, I mean,
no, you think it's gonna go to Yagao?
I feel like they have to ban Galio.
I feel like maybe you just can't ban away the rest of Bin champion pool. I do like the Fiora ban though, but I do expect a little bit more of that. Okay, well it's the Silas. I was actually gonna see back to that conversation about the Galio you were talking about, but they just don't want to give over this Yagao pick.
Yeah, I mean, I think the way around it for EDG is if they lock in something on their next rotation, which is just really painful for Galio to lane into, because Bin right here can technically just take his pick anyway because he sees the one-to-one matchup, right? He just doesn't see what the mid jungle will be, and then they can just play it out either way. What are they going to look for? Really? Veigar blind?
It looked so good the last time for Yagao. He was a monster on this pick, and it's an insurance policy for BLG that they can play around later on. Absolutely.
I think as well, when you kind of just take into effect how BLG maybe want to just sort of shift up fights, it says to me that they are just full committing into playing backwards until it makes sense to move forwards, right? And for EDG, I mean, Viego wouldn't look too bad here. You've got a couple of very strong champions to actually steal away the abilities of if you siphon their forms. I like it from EDG. It's skirmishing in the 2v2. Lissandra plus Viego, strong lockdown, and you're always going to be able to get on top of Yagao. Almost always. Just don't make the claw very telegraphed. You mentioned this Gragas here for Bin potentially. It seems like they're actually going to put Bin. They're going to send him over to the Renekton. Right back to it. Croc on R5. Not bad. And yeah, for me, BLG's composition, we focused on it a lot, is really just about taking position somewhere and just, you know, holding the fort, right? Letting EDG come into you as much as they really can. There's not a lot of engage options on either team, so I'm really, really gonna love seeing how they try to play out flanks and actually find backline access. For EDG, it's a lot more skirmish heavy in my mind, right? You've got Thresh, you've got Viego, Liss in the mid jungle. This is all going to be about, especially once the level 6 comes online, fighting over the neutrals, getting those thralls up and running. Finding the first kill is huge. You have Viego for the
G4 soon with a lot of comfort. Give it over to BLG as the skyline is there. The competition is nigh. BLG versus EDG. Game number 4 starts now.
BLG, one game is all they need to book their ticket to MSI. Will they be able to find it, Mazel? We don't get the gyos. Maybe we're not getting it. Maybe it's there, but either way, you know, audience sat tensely as they know this game is probably going to be a bloodbath. You've got Blitzcrank on one end, you've got 2 reset champs on the other, but also level 1 shenanigans, because there's that ward in the Pixel Rush, or rather the Tribe Rush. So are they going to look for something a little bit cheeky, perhaps? Jungle pathing going to be interesting as well to take a look at. Seems like Jiejie will be starting up on the top side, so he's pathing down towards the bot lane. He just knows volatility going to be a big thing with a Blitzcrank and a Thresh in the same lane. Wants to be down there and around that action. Shun, last time he was on the Kindred, 3 camps into bot lane dive.
Yeah.
Let's see what exactly he will eye up this time around, with also having a pretty volatile Bruiser matchup on the top side. It could pay dividends to make your way up there at level 3 as well. And he's been dominating the matchups too.
Yeah, he dominates every matchup. You just give him whatever he wants and he's going to win. But I think the biggest thing for me as well is you're getting a continuation of a lot of success for BLG, where On picked up Blitzcrank in game number 5 of their series against OMG, and it was absolutely crucial to setting up the team, but also knocking down Abel. And I think Leave is going to have to step up to the occasion here. You're getting a first-time Lissandra for FoFo. You're getting a little bit of that flexibility from EDG this time in their win conditions, but it's a lot of that comfort, a lot of the things that BLG have worked through time and time again and come into this streak that they're on now.
Yeah, absolutely. This is the first time in the series where we've really had Ala on a bit more of a carry-orientated champ. And I mean, I called out this top side play potentially just because, you know, the volatility of the matchup. If you can get Renekton ahead, it starts to feel bad. That's the Counter-Strike gone.
Oh, Ala gonna have to flash out of this one. Does have a little bit of that preemptive damage down from Shun. Does have that leave strike, and there won't be a flash to boot though. Shun getting hit back a little bit.
Wow.
So Ala able to weather the storm.
Yeah, you know, Ala, very fortunate. The minion that been used to dash forward to potentially find a little bit of extra damage is what died to give Ala the level 3 so he could have the leap strike. Small inches there. Otherwise, I think Flash at the very least gets blown. Shun now just paying a potential visit to the mid lane, but with the positioning of FoFo, that gank's not going to happen, so he'll reveal himself. Everyone knows where he is in reality. Now it's about whether or not he can actually safely attain his bot side jungle, because EDG know exactly where he is. Jiejie's done a full clear. He's a level up, and he's got first move from his bottom lane as well. I want to try and
he's got to know they know, though.
Yeah, yeah.
A little bit of aggression. A couple wolves go the way of EDG, but the big one went over to Shun. We'll see back onto the map going to this top side scuttle. Did not win the RNG this time, though. Ala might be winning this solo matchup up here. Got his hands on the Jackson, looking for a solo kill in the bin.
He wants
Maybe going under tower. Wants to go for it, and there you go. Ala has been activated.
He's been waiting 3 games to get a matchup that he can find some agency in. And in the one game he finally does, gets himself a solo bolo, takes down Bin, and now this mid lane gank. Not gonna come to much. FoFo will just take his reset off the back of the floor. But definitely things in the early game not going the way that BLG need them to. The Renekton lane falling behind a little bit in the 1v1. But also Shun, 1-to-1 in the jungle, just loses so much in terms of just his whole bot side jungle being stripped away. It's currently 37 CS to 18, so that's about a 4 camp difference, more or less, as we get a replay of the rundown here. Just waiting for his cooldowns to come back up. Ala, as soon as he finds them, spaces, flash in, W, doesn't even really need the... I think he dies to the W anyway. It's just one of those weird things where the Q can get channeled all at the same time. Really, really nice. Finds himself that solo kill. Much needed.
Something to give the EDG fans a little bit of hope here in the moment. Back is coming through here. I wonder if he does stop it, as Allah is going pretty aggressively. He did stop his back, and now Allah, he doesn't have flash. He has no way out. The leap strike, though. Flash from Shun will be utilized. And FoFo, Jiejie, they're here. Backup has arrived, and the lockdown as well. They're looking for the counter strike from Allah, but they don't find it. That will be the reset of potential here on the top side, but BLG caught wanting in this topside trio now. We might have another 3v3 on our hands.
Not entirely sure. I think EDG are just going to work really hard to allow Allah's wave to be crashed in.
Oh, it's a 4v3.
Yeah, and On's on his way, so it's about to be a 4v4 if things actually kick off.
They're going to try to go on Bin. That's Frozen Tomb used. The deaths, and it's not going to go through with the counter strike, but it's Jiejie who gets the heart steal, at least the soul steal, and a second kill to EDG.
This play was so smart. FoFo was hiding in the bush at level 5, and he ticks over to 6 in the bush to actually make that play happen. Really heads up play from EDG. And they find the pick onto Bin, and they push the wave in. They just get away with their kill. A really, really nice early game so far for EDG. Jiejie finds himself an individual lead, a big one at that. Now they're also just continually ensuring that Allah is just having a very fine time up here. Look at this. So he's in the bush. First minion dies level 6, and then they just wait until Bin steps up one more time. And as soon as he does, they just send it. The Event Horizon does a good job of keeping space. Oh, hello.
EDG actually going for it a little bit more. They've gotten Leave into the fight now as well. Over the wall, though, with that rocket grab. But it's Jiejie who picks out Chun. And that's 3 kills to EDG and first Dragon.
Yeah, this is really, really nice for EDG. And I mean, with a composition like this, they start pulling ahead. It just gets really, really oppressive. You don't have many tools for a very long time as BLG in terms of damage to really match the snowballing potential here.
Yagao's just walking in. He's like, I'm going to try to contest this one. The spike comes through, though, and it's an easy secure for EDG.
Nice, nice. They walk out, get Dragon. Lantern as well. Isn't blocked by the Event Horizon, and he doesn't get grabbed by On. So, good stuff. EDG clean heist. Now on the top side. Oh, it was blown there by Allah, but as long as he gets the wave in, gets a reset, he's not going to care too much about that cooldown for now. Herald's also not spawning for another 35 seconds, so nothing to really be upset about. Let's see how things actually kicked off, because we was in the replay at the time. It's just a death sentence into play. On walks it off. The Event Horizon keeps everyone trapped in. But there's no real burst damage or follow-up until FoFo gets here. And as soon as FoFo arrives, double flash into hook, you know. But in the river, you just see Gravitum catches out Shun. And as soon as he gets Rude, he's just effectively dead. Kindred, without the ultimate, just doesn't have great survivability tools.
Yeah.
Very, very squishy. No,
and that's where a little bit of the risk and reward for both these junglers are. Viego obviously needs resources early, it feels like, has gotten those. But Kindred as well needs resources, right? It is a source of carry potential for BLG. And now he's just getting oppressed across the map. And Ben might be biting off a little bit more than he can chew as Meiko does not hit the death sentence, but there's the Frozen Tomb yet again. And it's the CC chain that follows every time that gets ya. Allah will get a second kill. On trying to go over the wall here, maybe trying to find something. Cooking. Does connect. Does have the CC chain from Yagao, trying to get the shutdown on from Jiejie. Has not all of the damage. That feels like it's been the case every time for BLG.
They find the hook, but they just don't have the damage for the kill. Heartbreaker as well over the Event Horizon means that Jiejie is able to escape. Allah can do what he wants here because he's got a lantern and he's got his counter strike, so he's not going to die. BLG feels like losing out by an inch time and time again, but it's just good play from EDG. Can't take that away from them. They might end up giving over this Herald, but it feels like a minor consolation prize. First Herald is a lot of plates, potentially, but I think with the state of the lane, that's the big thing. How much of a reward is it, really? 300 gold as well on take. We'll see. We'll see what BLG can get done with it. EDG, they're actually approaching the area, but I think it's a bit of a half-hearted attempt.
I have an interesting situation I guess I see developing here is in our 4th game, we are completely abandoning any focus around bot side early. I think that's been a theme so far that we've seen a lot of focusing around the 3v3 bottom side of the map, but we've already seen multiple roams from On and Meiko towards this top side, towards these solo lanes, and I think that's a little bit of an adaptation from EDG as well, trying to pull attention away from that bottom side, give Leave a little bit of breathing room against Elk.
Yeah, because it feels like one-to-one, you know, AD carries normally, unless there's a very, very big gap, whether it be you know, player to player, which in this case, I just don't think there is, but, you know, matchup to matchup, the CS gap is just going to remain very consistent. It's going to be, you know, 2-3 CS at a time at worst. And I think going towards the top side, for me, you know, EDG and Ala have not really, they've not put resources into his back pocket until now. So I think your call is correct, Mazel, that they just want to leave the room to just scale up and then try and put Bin down, because he has been a pretty big vocal piece to this BLG puzzle and being successful. And so far, he's 0-3-0. Just hasn't really been able to get much done with what was an R5 Renekton pick, right? He saw the Jax matchup for a very long time, and this is what the matchup that he opted into. And so far, it's been shut down entirely by EDG.
This is like one of the first times I can think of where Bin is actually losing a matchup in top side. Even in the unfavored matchups, he seems to find ways to win it. We actually got to see that Scuttle Crab taken, so I think that was a deny of a mark over to Shun. So huge stuff in terms of the macro play already 11 minutes in from EDG.
Good stuff. Good stuff from EDG. Taking away whatever they can, wherever they can. Little trade here from Ala. Could be an all-in. How much damage does he have? It's just going to be a walk away. Shun is also here, but he's just not going to risk it. I'm not sure how much information they have about the whereabouts of EDG either, so would rather not. Now the next dragon spawning, and EDG got the first one. And I think in a snowballing scenario, like the one that they kind of find themselves in, they'll be very, very happy to pick up the second dragon as well. And hopefully find themselves a Hextech Soul, Infernal Soul, one of the more oppressive damage ones to just continue that snowball through.
Oh, Ala gonna pop that Grandmaster's Might. He's looking for a second solo bolo in this game. But as we had said, the setup around Dragon has been key for EDG and a lot of their wins. And they had set up around there, but BLG are contesting now.
Fog is kind of scary. You don't want to get hooked by a Blitzcrank, but we've seen it once or twice where there has been enough burst damage. Elk is being slow.
He has to use the Feather Storm. They're going to get the grab in on FoFo. They've gotten one kill, but they got the reset back. On has fallen. They got to try to get back into the fight if they can. On the way.
Jiejie has Blitzcrank.
You got close. As now Yagao gets stolen down. The Lamp of Spike comes out now. Though buying a lot of space and a lot of time. Elk will be stacking up those feathers, but is it enough? He does. He gets the steal, and now Elk is far and away at BLG. I've turned the tables on Edward Gaming.
It's a mechanical outplay from Elk from BLG. Great gale force into the feather pullback. Just means that Jiejie can't actually press his R key, execute Yagao, and then take the form and snowball the fight again. Excellent stuff. And it's just EDG not respecting the power of the feathers in a choke, right? Respecting all of this potential turnaround damage. And your positioning is just going to be funneled in very, very tightly. And they lose the dragon. The Hextech Soul and Rift is what's on the map, but losing that second dragon is going to feel quite painful for the immediate future. We'll see what plays they continue to make, because right now it looks like they're eyeing up Bin, or at the very least, waiting for someone in this top side to enter jungle and try and take this red buff.
Usually they say there's an elephant in the room, but now there's an elk in the room, and it's 900 pounds again. He goes again. Now they will be putting focus more so in the Bin here for EDG, and I think that's huge, as we've seen a continuation of that. The lockdown is enough, and FoFo gets on the board.
Yeah, and I imagine Ala will be able to take a majority of that tower. Maybe get both plates before it drops. He's got another
tower.
The Bonish proc. Beg your pardon in the English, but he's going to get it. It's a huge gold injection. He's already got the Divine Sunderer as well, so just getting closer and closer to that 2-item spike. A little more attack speed. Maybe we'll see what he goes towards. But look at this. Leave has the gravitum. Q into another auto just for a bit more damage. Root. And the continued slow. Not only Inferno, maximum damage. But silence into hook, into pullback means that FoFo doesn't get to actually do anything in this team fight. Isn't able to respond. Jiejie eventually takes the form, finds the hook onto Yagao, and even though they feel like they're about to kill him, the Heartbreaker is cancelled out.
All I'm saying, you ever seen an elk do moves like this? I've never seen it in my history, man. This guy is insane the way that he moves around these fights as well. And again, it's just another step up in what has been a multitude of them from the ADC of BLG.
Yes, AD carries in the split have been phenomenal. But these two, I think, have definitely risen above the rest. We've done the Leave is the rookie of the split. A little bit to death, we know it. He's bloody good for Elk as well. I feel like for so long with the split, just because BLG had kind of been so middling, it's always kind of hard unless you've got a massive standout performance on a consistent basis to pull out members like we had on the BLG roster. But since playoffs in particular, Elk has just stood above the rest. And now BLG come back into the game a bit. They are down in gold still, but it feels as if all of a sudden they can at the very least take some control back, right? It felt like EDG had all the reins, all the power, but so far EDG still remain in control to a point. Let's see what they can do now as they take down this Herald.
We'll get a little bit of breathing room in that sense. At least some gold to ride home about. Maybe another couple tower breaks going their way. It is right now looking at the side lane pushes though, and trying to find a way to utilize Allah's strength, where he does find that huge advantage in his own right in the side lane against Bin. And it's about using the Jax that we actually saw Bin use very well earlier in the series. And now that we're getting this kind of lane state, a lot of control around this dragon is going to be fought over next, because we have about a minute and 45.
45 items as well. Started to come in across the border at 16 minutes, so they've been there for a little while. Like EDG will be very happy to fight on this kind of spike, right? Viego, very, very powerful on Divine Sundara. Everfrost for extra lockdown from FoFo. Gale Force for the repositioning for Leave, which we've seen him use time and time again. See, Herald's there. I think they want to hold on to it for another minute or so. Jiejie, EDG, brick the tower when this dragon actually is about to spawn up. Use that to buy yourself some time to ensure that BLG aren't the ones in the river first. You check into Blitzcrank, it's always going to be scary, right? If you can deny him that, it strips away a lot of the fear and the power out of that pick. As this is a mark, finally. Shun has, I'm a bit far away from him, I think that's 3 marks. So this will be the 4th.
It is number 4, look at that. Able to capitalize a little bit on that, as well as Shun, again, on his signature pick on the Kindred. I think obviously it's not been let through that often, and when it does, he immediately picks it up, but he's really found his own in this pick, but as well as BLG as a whole being a very dual-sided jungle in terms of the fact that we've seen him be able to carry on picks like this, on picks like the Viego, but then when he's playing the Sejuani's, the Vi's, things like that, even the Maokai's earlier on, he's able to facilitate a lot of leads out to the rest of the team. We'll see EDG try to facilitate even more gold to their pockets here, though, in mid lane, as that Rip Herald finally does get pushed down.
They'll take it. Charge comes in. They won't corral to a second, just because BLG are all here. They'll take down the Herald, that's fine. And now EDG, they're the ones here, and they can just kind of catch the wave up a little bit high, be a bit respectful of the Blitzcrank hook, but always have priority. Leave's also got Inferno, so she's going to clear the wave a little bit faster. Oh, okay.
That's always the give and take between those two, though. That's a flash counter-strike on the 2 members, and Shun will have to pop that Lambda spike. The Death Sentence does not connect, but Leave shuts down on. You gotta look for Elk, though, as the resets have already come through. That means the fight is lost by BLG. He gets a nice little turn back around from the Primordial Burst of Yagao, but it's still a big fight win for EDG as they take 3 members off the board.
Yeah, 3 members, they'll get Dragon as well. First kill, that's all we spoke about, right? You get that first pick up. Resets start to come in the falls, really, really oppressive. Medium to short range composition as well on BLG, so they're always going to have to be dealing with it. Good pick. It starts off really with Meiko looking for his own death sentence, right? But having to be a little bit defensive on the flash. But as soon as that overset comes in on the potential response from BLG, FoFo just pounces, goes in. But also look at Allah, he's been waiting in that bush for about 10 seconds before this play as well.
This right here, though, that's so decisive.
It is. It's a good reaction flash from Shun to reposition, but he's still going to be caught out and locked down. And then Leave removes On.
On gets caught again. Meiko gets that kill. Death Sentence connects on a Shun, who does not have Lamb's fight this time, but they turn back around on a FoFo. He got locked down by the Event Horizon, and that's another kill to Yagao.
Okay, Yagao finds another one. 202, not bad. Veigar. He's going to put out a lot of damage in this game, and he's actually quite high value, right? Because you've got champions, the sort of melee bruisers like Viego and like Jax. They hate dealing with tools like Event Horizon. Any of these kind of AoE terrain-esque abilities are just obnoxious to deal with. And I think the amount of burst damage he's going to be able to provide as well as the game goes on.
Meiko.
Major results, but like you say, Meiko Finds the hook. They find the kill onto On, but they invest basically everything. Oh, the Event Horizon catches FoFo and Blast, but I didn't catch that live.
Rough.
Really unlucky, but I mean, even if he does Blast going over, I think he's gonna die anyway. It's just maybe extra damage.
Oh, they are pinging on the Baron right now.
Yeah, they are.
This is bold, Cotton.
Yeah, I mean, they don't have 2 items on leave, and my big indicator of rule of thumb, 2 item AD carries through the Baron. It's fine. They've got the guns for it. This Aphelios. It's kind of risky.
For the
I agree. Bold strategy.
We'll see if it pays off for them. This is a make or break moment. Potentially the Dragon, the Baron has already got over. They've also cut out shooting. He didn't have Lambs of Spite. I don't know what he was trying to do, but that's a big moment for EDG. They take the Baron and they get the pick.
Yeah, we missed it. It was actually FoFo. He had the spellbook on Smite, so it's 2.4k execution. Shun goes in, doesn't have Lambs of Spite, but he's also out-smited by an extra 1.2k damage. Good flip. It's not even a flip. It's just a well-calculated play from EDG.
Yeah.
Great call. Now BLG down the Baron, and they lost their jungler, so it's more
on the veteran C. It's kind of big.
Very, very big. Very, very big indeed. And I think now BLG, the problem against the Baron comp as well, is that if you're a composition that kind of thrives, now I won't say they entirely thrive on Fog of War, right? But you have a Blitzcrank, so you want that control. If you're against Baron Siege, you're never going to have it. And it's pretty much all going to come down to who EDG disrespect you in front of a tower and end up getting rocket grab, as this is just well-timed smite. It's just
really, really nicely done.
You can't do it.
And then the perfect death sentence.
Death sentence, yeah. Back to back. Good stuff from EDG. BLG just caught unawares, right? Kind of. I don't even want to say asleep at the wheel because they were there. They were ready for the play. They just couldn't respond.
Don't tell me they fell asleep driving. That'd be unfortunate. That's not safe. That's not safe. What BLG doing? Fall asleep at the wheel. Shouldn't drive vehicles like that. EDG though, they're fine and dandy driving right now. They've taken over, and meanwhile, you know, almost find themselves at a 6,000 gold lead. They also just have control, vision control. And around this Dragon Pit, it is so important for them. They're going to look for another soul point fight here, at least, to try to get that going. And meanwhile, oh no!
Okay.
That's Wild Elk, buddy. Can't take approach to wild animals like that. Leave. You'll learn next time.
Yeah, EDG. It's kind of a rule of thumb I used to follow when I was coaching. Don't open up onto the map with Baron on 3 lanes, because that's what happens. You get kicked off randomly when you don't have the wave synced up. BLG are going to take 2 towers off this pick, which is going to feel really, really good. I mean, I'm not sure. I'm not sure how a pick like that even really occurs. Other than they decided to try and push out all 3 lanes at the same time, but it's not the correct tempo to do it at. You don't have the actual time to make that play. BLG capitalized, they recognized it. They pull up
this guy's pretty terrifying up here, though, I will say. Allah has gotten himself a pretty stable situation. Speaking of maybe a little bit of instability, we got a flash burned in the mid lane.
Okay. Flash burn, not bad. BLG.
With all of these, I feel like we're missing like half the story. Because like we always come into the fights and there's like cooldowns already burned. I'm like, did something happen?
Oh wow.
Just like here, the silence.
Oh, what? What? Look away. Look away. Look away.
It's the boxing glove tip.
But I've got to say, that's just so good from On in terms of like just being able to be out of vision. I don't know if it's really, you know, a little bit of luck goes their way as well, but just hex slashing into vision in the rundown. And now EDG, they're here. They have to try and deny BLG from getting into the river, and they're going to do
just that. They're on. They've separated him away as the Event Horizon came through. It didn't matter. Now the resets have come through. Jiejie can't get the rocket jump. That was a very awkward blast cone there, but it's Bin that's relegated to try to clear out the side lane, and he can't do it. We have BLG that has to back off. That's soul point for EDG.
Yeah, not bad. They'll take it. Arla, how much are you willing to give for this red buff? Not enough. Back away. Jump on the hex gate. Take his escape. But EDG, soul point now, 5 minutes. That's something that BLG are going to have to contest because it's just the perfect combat soul for EDG. I couldn't ask for a better roll on the dice in this game. And they want to take it to all 5. They need to if they want to make it to MSI, make it to finals.
And they've had such a shorter run than BLG have had, right? BLG have been slogging through this playoffs so far for the entire LPL Spring Playoffs, but it's EDG who started off in round 4. Started off with a pretty convincing win against OMG, who had been streaking through some of our best teams. And then they fell wholeheartedly to JDG, and it looked very rough. And we saw in the post-game threads, and especially their post-game interviews, it was disheartening. But they were able to turn back around that day, it felt like. And now they are in an advantage and in a position to push us to a silver scrapes with a composition that I feel like is a little bit different than what we've seen from them, but it still fits the mold so well.
Yeah, it does. It really, really does. Now I feel in that regard they can hold on for a long time. I think EDG will also never really fall off in terms of damage, but the longer you give this BLG lineup time, the more opportunity that there is for a comeback, right? And the more punishing mistakes become. That's the crucial thing. And I'll always say about Blitzcrank, it's just the golden rule. It doesn't matter how long he's in a game and how useless he may be, all it takes is one hook to win the game. And speaking of, I'm not going to say it's going to win the game, but they may find Allah.
It's the leap strike already used. Should be able to set this up though. Allah looking to take it, does flash away as the Grandmasters might, but it's not going to be enough. And who's delivered the gold? It is Ben.
All right, well, EDG push out the top side. Baron's up in 10 seconds. Can't really take a 4v5, and they also can't pull off that same shenanigans with the double smite. So there's no, you know, mega high execution on the Baron. It's just a normal 4v5. The resets come out. Oh no.
Oh, they were waiting for this the whole time. He does maybe get out of this one. Locked down though. Is it going to be enough? The rocket grab brings FoFo away, and the event horizon actually brings a nice little bit of reprieve to BLG. It was EDG who were actually pinging furiously onto the Baron. It doesn't look like they'll be set up for that now.
Really smart, by the way, from Shun. Even though he takes the Hex Gate, he takes the most offensive exit on it. And even though he didn't have the information that EDG could be there, just that presence of mind to do it potentially just saved his life. Really, really good. Really, really good. And he doesn't actually even, I think, want to end up doing anything, so it's all right. Meiko, like you say, just for the hook. But EDG now, they're the ones with the setup, right? And again, BLG, they're always going to feel a little bit less threatening if they have to walk forward. They prefer to have EDG walk into them, chase into a choke, run into feathers, run into dark matters and massive event horizons from Yagao. For now, EDG just taking their time.
I love that this is what we've evolved into this series so far. We had a lot of back and forth between the supports in the last couple games, especially the way that they're moving around the map. But we were talking about getting your fishing rods out and fishing last game. Well, now we literally have hooks on the end of our fishing rods. And I think both these teams are so anxious in these fights because one hook makes the biggest of differences through all this fog, through all these moments. And you see some of that anxiousness turning to stress and anxiety coming to bear here for both sides.
Yeah, you don't want to flip it. You don't want to get hit. I mean, even though in this case Meiko wouldn't have, he just still also has to blow the flash. Just out of respect.
You don't know what's on the other side of it.
You don't. And now this is where things get scary, right? How much more apprehensive do you have to be on the approach when you don't know where on is and you don't have vision? Good use of the Hex Gate to actually get information. That leaves flash.
Doesn't connect though. That is pretty big, and we'll see actually the wrap back around by EDG on looking over the wall, using some of this vision, as it should be EDG pushing back towards mid lane. BLG forcing some of this vision away. They're actually going to pour the Baron once again.
I don't know. Leaf has got pretty good AoE guns right now. This is risky, BLG. How much do you really want to flip this?
It's so risky. Hoping and a prayer here. Soon is in the pit. He gets the Baron. Allah's on the back line. Elknight's locked down, but he's got the Feather Storm, the Blade Collar. It comes through, but it's not enough. And now EDG, they're firing away with all hands on deck. They lose one, but Yagao can't take down Leave. He should be taken down now. The Heartbreaker not utilized, but it's still a cascading wave from the Edward Gaming.
They're just in the pit, and it's like shooting ducks in a barrel or fish in a barrel, not ducks in a barrel. I guess it still works in this context.
Take your pick.
Take your pick. EDG. They've got one cannon minion. They don't get the Baron, but they should be able to just break open the base, get the inhibitor. Here's the wave. They lose Baron. I don't think they care. They should be able to retreat and get the soul as well. They have enough time for that. Even though they lose the Baron, they still get the permanent buff, and they'll be able to go back to a side lane siege up. I will say though, BLG's composition, a fair amount of wave clear just with Veigar existing. So again, turtling very possible for BLG, and EDG still will have their work cut out for them to end this game.
They will indeed, but that Hex Soul will help in that fashion. That will be a soul completed for EDG as we take a look back at this Baron dance.
Yeah, so a couple of members you have to look at. Ala immediately finding access to the back line. Doesn't matter that the hook comes through onto the target, it does, because Meiko is just fine, but Ala is just in. He doesn't really care. CC comes through, just one shots, doesn't matter. I'm very happy to remove Elk from the equation by himself. Yagao on the back line is basically a 1v1. None of the key targets are dying. That's the crucial thing. No one was on top of FoFo because he was just putting out the damage and the focus was elsewhere from BLG, mostly trying to just take down the first target they could, but it's not enough.
6K in the lead for EDG. Control around the objectives and exactly how they wanted to execute this. Leave is at a point of power now with the composition around him. I think Meiko has really been turned online with this Thresh, but we're at those 3.5 items now for key carries, and it's going to be something for BLG to find execution off. They're still stacking, they're still trying to find ways in, but it's getting darker and darker.
Yeah, I mean, when you take a look at the inventories, actually, Leave is going the more defensive route, right? Stopwatch, Chain Vest to not die to the AD damage. Elk put out more DPS. Oh, Elk put out more DPS if he's afforded the opportunity.
That's the thing here, though. We're like literally just looking for the hooks here because one big hook means the difference. And we've seen that On needs to find a connection at least, but has not been able to. See back on the reset though, and a little bit of calm before the storm, it feels like here, as Baron buff will be falling off. It is a negative Baron power play. Yeah,
it is. I think Jiejie getting hit by that hook velocity, cancelling it out with the Heartbreaker.
I don't know if that's the fight you necessarily want to take, but okay, made him a little scared, as Jiejie will not have his flash any longer for 5 minutes.
Yeah, not bad, not bad. But I think just between that and the Baron still existing on a member or two, just pushed EDG away. And again, you know, the longer this game goes, the more chances BLG have to find that one play, right? That's all it will take sometimes, especially with a Blitzcrank. And as I was alluding to before, we saw that pretty, well, it was a really good interaction from Jiejie just to, again, get pulled back by the rocket grab. Elk, full damage, right? 4-5 and Bloodthirster in, Leave more defensive route. Wants the GA, wants to be able to have the Resurrect if he does drop and he is focused down, or at the very least to make him a less appetizing target. Does mean BLG, double AD carries, in theory, they should put out more damage in the front and back. They just have to find it.
And the thing is, BLG are not shying away from a scrap. That has been, I feel like, the namesake of their run at this point. They are a scrappy team in these fights, right? They will find ways to kind of up in a lot of setup team fights later on and just find a lot of those aggressive decisions that make you on the back foot a lot of times. But it is something to say here that EDG have had so much control. They have had so much of a lead off of a change in Jiejie getting the Viego and changing up a little bit of the draft itself to give FoFo a lot more of the utility for EDG to play around.
Utility, often the name of the game. The deeper you go into tournaments a lot of the time, unless you're in a real damage meta, I feel like we're not necessarily. EDG have used it well. And I think BLG, the way they're going to have to use their utility is just to not die. That's it. Don't die. Hope that Elk can put out the DPS. We're starting to approach that part of the game
starting
where...
to get scary too.
Yeah, we're starting to approach that part of the game as well. The gold difference just doesn't matter at all. Yagao, like you said, very, very scary. If he reaches that death cap and he's able to multiply the amount of AP he likely has right now, that's going to be terrifying. And he's going to start one-shotting WQ. Probably on the cusp of already dealing more damage than Smite. And that's when things can actually get quite risky, because you all of a sudden you just can't flip Baron against the champion. And you have to hope that FoFo has Smite back up in the spellbook. Not sure how long that will take to come up, but that's also another thing that EDG are just going to have to continually worry about if they allow BLG to continue to scale into this late game.
Now we do have an inhib respawning in mid lane for BLG, but the biggest thing is we have 15 seconds for a Baron and a minute and 20 for an Elder Dragon on the Rift. EDG will need to find a focus and stick with it. They have a lot of strength from Ala in the side lane, But BLG are trying to come online before the moment matters.
Exactly. I'm just wondering if EDG have given BLG too much time. You know, I've seen so many League of Legends games this year where a team has a lead.
They're going to force it.
And I mean, they have to. If they allow Yagao to hit death cap, it just feels really, really bad. He doesn't actually have teleport, so that's a big deal. He's going to have to walk it over here. He's ghosting. But that's an engage.
For it. They find the hook, though. Maybe on the shoot. No, he flashes away. Bin is going to go down, though. As Event Horizon comes through, Jiejie gets bursted from the Primordial. And that's a nice little trade back. Jungle down means EDG can't do the dips here.
Nope, they can't. Elder spawns in 30 seconds time. It's 4v5, yes, but you have a jungler BLG. And you've got the ultimate on. He's fine. Oh, but they found
Ala. Counter-strike in. Ala, though, on is in trouble now as well. The Lambert Spike. Elk has to cleanse, has to get into the Lambert Spike. Flashes out, but Ala, once he's found you, he will not stop. And EDG, they're trying to pick apart BLG. They do just that. FoFo can't find Yagao, but that's leaving FoFo, the standing members of EDG, that step on BLG's chances.
Now the question is, can they do Baron as a duo? Will they go over to the Elder? It looks like the latter. They're going to go try and pick this one up. Jiejie's alive. He's got the Hex Gates to make it back out onto the map. This is Elder into a likely Baron here for EDG. And Ala hero that EDG were looking for to make the play that could potentially break BLG's back and bring them to a game 5. He finds Elk, we said, if he's got the space, he'll dish out the damage, but he just can't find it. First, it's the Death Sentence to force out the cleanse. And then it's just the Jax on top of him. Elder secured. Doesn't matter if they don't have it on Meiko. And realistically, maybe even on Arla, because they got it on the big damage dealers. They'll go over to this Baron
should be able to get it.
And it's both the Uber buffs now to try and close out this game and bring it all to Silver Scrapes in a game 5.
And that's absolutely going to be a Rabadon's completer for FoFo. But let's just see how it broke down. The original hook going wide from On, that's a difference maker, because then Meiko hits it right after.
Yeah, and I mean, I think it's just cycling this form. It's just cycling this form. It's just a mistake. It's just a misclick that you can't afford to make. It's one of those things. It's like Lee Sin Q. You know, you hit it and you have to take it. That's what it is for Viego passive. You get the form, you want to take it. Event Horizon into death. But then
Ala would not be denied here, though.
No, I mean, it feels like they've got the pick, but they immediately burst down on. This Death Sentence forces Elk to not only use the cleanse, but the Elk Force tries to flash away, but he's just followed and just murdered by Ala. The burst eventually comes back through, but at that point, you've already lost your core DPS carry. And BLG just be sent back and retreat. Good team fight from EDG, but Ala really does just make the big difference in stopping BLG from actually having a source of damage in that team fight.
And it's Ala getting his hands on the Jax, something that Bin had already picked up in this series, something that EDG were not necessarily opting into just yet, even though he's had a lot of performances on it in their playoffs so far. And it has looked night and day, my man. He is almost event, or at least flame horizoning, not event horizoning, Bin. And it's really been this Jax stepping up to the plate where he is such a point of pressure that EDG can play around.
He is. It really is. It's a lot of damage for Ala.
Soak a lot of damage there, I guess.
It's double buffs. That's the problem. How much does it really matter? There's a lot of wave clear. Will it reconnect on On's part? Not going to find another. But you can see, EDG just want to force. They just want to go because they've got both of these Uber buffs. There's only 25 seconds left on this Elder. Less than 90 on the Baron. What's the call? Because if they don't do something immediately, they're not going to get anything from these buffs, Mazel. And we could just end up with another map reset where BLG can infinitely clear waves. And I think that's what's about to happen.
Looks like that's the case. The turtle is strong with this one for BLG, as it's Farm City right now. But the biggest conversation has to be the obvious scaling adaptation from BLG here, but there's always the prominent threat of one hook into resets into the thralls for FoFo and things really not going the way of BLG to set up around these next objectives, because it doesn't, I feel like, get easier to enter a lot of these fights as we've had such control for vision, but as well as spacing around the pits here so far for EDG.
It's just tense. I think that positioning that you're talking about is going to be crucial. We've never seen BLG on the front foot this game. Not once. Not ever, really, where they can be the ones in front of an objective. I don't feel like we're going to get to see that version. They're just going to have to continually check in.
They lose one more fight.
Yeah, for sure. 100%. This is a one-fight game now, I think. Maybe two. If one side is lucky enough to be afforded that luxury.
Leave has his full items now. We have that as well for Allah. So much strength coming out of the dual carries right now for EDG. We did get full items completed for Elk. He is still a menace right now. You still have a lot of power coming online for BLG, but On has not found those crucial hooks just yet.
He hasn't. Again, it's been a while since you've seen him hit one that changes the landscape, the feel of the game. But all that has to happen. You just have to find Leave once. And that's it. Finds Leave. Objective accomplished. Leave has been doing a really good job.
They're going to go into Allah. He finds the back line yet again. Yagao has to go away, but the Event Horizon has separated some space. They focused on Allah, but he gets the Lambs Respite heal as well. He finally gets the Jiejie burn, but Leave has been untouched this whole time, and he has come online. Long have we waited. EDG activated. We're going to Silver Scrapes, baby.
We're going to game 5. It took a long damn time, 41 minutes on the clock, but EDG will break the defensive formation of BLG. It took one engage from FoFo, but they find their mark. Elk taken out of the fight. He tries to 1v1 Leave, but it's just not enough. And one game is about to be the difference, Mazel, between going to finals, going to MSI, and getting their rematch against JDG.
Wouldn't have it any other way, my friend. I get back-to-back Silver Scrapes, and it's BLG who dropped the ball in game number 4. A huge change of momentum for EDG in the draft that they got. It is still Leave on the Aphelios, but it's about the way EDG approached the game. They took all the attention away from bottom lane. Those 3v3s were non-existent, and it gave space for Leave to come online. And it was off the back of a lot of that cohesive play from the top 4 and Meiko included in terms of how they got those early advantages.
Yeah, and I just think it's so crucial, right? I think a lot of the time, especially in the LPL, you always know your AD carry is going to just be capable, you know? You always know that your AD carry is just going, most of the time, is going to be able to dish out the damage. So what's the mentality? Normally, to be able to dish out that damage, you need space. You need to actually have a front line, or you need to have people that are diving forward to be able to give you the ability to actually use your damage. So EDG's adaptation, slam the top side, right? Bin has been winning every single lane because realistically, they've been throwing Allah no bone. They finally give him something, right? They feed him, and this is what it yields. So I think now they clearly have a path, right? I think game 5, however, likely going to be a reclaim on blue side from BLG.
Absolutely.
That's 100% the path from BLG. So what do you actually look to try and do? Do you want to try and early prioritize a top lane pick? Do you want to try and snap up a Jax like you saw BLG do from, you know, the R1, R2, but actually force the plays and make it work? Leave on Aphelios again and give him the resources later on? I think these are questions that we're going to have answered, but for now, EDG, I think, just need to take a breath, right? That was a 41-minute game where BLG could have found one fight to actually bring themselves back to parity. I think, to me, go ahead.
No, they just couldn't find it. And I think that was a lot of the execution again for EDG, but it was the step up in the right time. I think giving Jiejie the Viego, while there was a lot of risk and reward involved, I think it was very worth it. And the way that they kind of used that to springboard forward, Allah just destroying the top lane matchup, I think is not a commonality when we see matchups going into bin, and that can be a series changer because now BLG may need to find a new approach that's going to work because the Renekton did not. He saw that matchup coming into it, and it didn't work out. And you see Yagao is on his way, but it's EDG who closed the trap shut in time.
Yeah, exactly. I think if this game goes on any longer, you know, shenanigans are about to occur, right? One Blitzcrank hook, Yagao one-shotting FoFo or Leave for fun just because they make one mistake, but they do make the game close happen. And I just, oh man, there's so much I want to talk about, but I just feel like generally this adaptation is maybe the angle that EDG have to stick with because they've tried to play towards the bottom side effectively, you know, all series long. It's been a very up and down battle, but this seems to work, right? BLG without Bin in a position to dominate do feel like a different team, generally speaking, because no matter what we've said about BLG in terms of their inconsistency, the one consistent thing about them has been bin. So if you remove that factor from the equation, things can start to look better, and I think this is a very good case study game for that. So I wonder how much they focus back on that. I wonder whether or not they really do prioritize putting Ala on another carry, and whether or not they can actually keep Shun away from basically just pounding the rest of the map whilst that goes on. Because if they go for a repeat topside play again, where they're just giving Ala all of these resources, I think BLG will be a little more on their toes and more ready and willing to adapt and try to cross map more efficiently.
I think a big game changer, though, for me was the step up for Meiko on the Thresh. And I'm really interested at what our draft lends out for us for game number 5. But until then, make sure you got those speakers cranked loud or those headphones if it's 6 a.m. where you are at. Because, baby, the League of Bangers delivers every time. Crazy is our game, and Silver Scrapes is on the way. We'll see you for game 5.